Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. I had a request to show how I created these paper beads that I've used on my latest journal. So I thought I would do a tutorial on how to do that. I have used the printed digital paper from the kit I made to use the journal for these, but today I'm going to use just some pattern paper. Now there's lots of different ways of doing this, but this is the way I do it. And you know, if you had a search on YouTube, you'd find heaps and heaps of different ways. So it's a great project for using up your scraps. So you just use strips of paper. You can use any paper you like. This is like scrapbooking paper. You can use coffee dyed paper. You can use digitals, whatever. And it's a good use of your strips. You know, your branding strips, you could even use those because a lot of them have got the pattern on the back these days. So now to start with, you have to get a shape like this. So what I do is I just find out how wide my strip is. So this one's 1 1/4 inches, so that means half of 1 1/4 is 5/8. So I just put a mark at 5/8. Now the pointy end where you put your mark is going to be the last part you see, so that's the part that you want to have your most pattern on. And then I draw a line from that corner to my centre point, which is there, and then turn it round and do the same thing there from the corner to the centre point and draw a line. Then use your scissors and cut it. Now you might be good enough to just put a dot at the end at your centre point and just be able to cut a straight line down to the corner. If you do, you don't have to draw the lines. If you can, you don't have to draw the lines. Now, depends how wide you want your bead to be, how wide you need your paper to be. So, with these, I started off with a 2-inch strip of paper. So my bead's going to be 2 inches long. I'm making another journal and I wanted some smaller beads this time, so I've trimmed mine down a bit. So this one's 3/4 of an inch wide, so I want 3/8, which is what? 1, 2, 3, which is there. So once again, turn it around because it's easier, and go from there to there and cut that out. Now you might notice that I've got some different lengths here of paper, so you can vary the width and you can vary the length of your paper. The longer your paper, the thicker your bead will be. So a lot of mine that I'm doing here today are about 8 inches long. I have thrown in a couple of longer ones that are 12 inches long, and I have also done a couple that are shorter. So this one is quite a fat little bead. He's going to be 1 1/4 inches and he's only 6 inches long. So you can see a bit of an idea about you know, what each variation will be, or what each variation will give you, and if you want a wider bead or a fatter bead, or how to work out exactly what you want. So when you're making your beads, you'll want a collection of different thickness things to roll your beads around. Depending on what you're planning on putting through the middle, depends on how thick you want the item to be that you're winding around. Right, so there's all my pieces that I've got ready to make beads out of. Now, if you've got like a 12-inch piece of paper or, you know, a continuous sheet of paper, and you know how wide you want your beads to be, you can just measure the whole sheet up, and that way you don't get the wastage that you get if you're just doing it in strips. So say you want a 1-inch bead where you just mark every inch this end, and then you go up the other end and start marking every 1/2 inch, and then you know you're going to cut, oh, here, start from this side. So mark 1/2 inch here, and then an inch from there. So there, there, and there. So then you know you're going to cut from there to there, and there, and then you're going to cut from there to there, which will give you 2 strips, and there to there, which will give you another strip, and so on. So you don't get the wastage that way. Now, as I said, it depends how thick you want your beads to be. Now, I wanted my beads thick enough to be able to thread some sari silk through, and this has got ribbon threaded through it, so they couldn't be too fine. So I actually used this straw to make those. It's just a normal drinking straw, you probably can't get them anymore, plastic one. So I've just saved that one from years ago. If you've got a finer bead, you can thread it around something like this. I've got a old brush handle here that the things fell out of. Now this has got what do you call, gets fatter and smaller. So you can use different sizes on this brush. And if you've got something really thick and chunky that you want to thread it through, you can use something like this, or, you know, a fatter pen, those sorts of things. But today I'm going to use this because I'm planning on threading these through just a fine thread. Now decide which side you want to be on the outside of your bead. In this case I'm going to do the pink, and then start by just rolling that around your, whatever you're rolling it around. In this case I'm rolling it around my Pokey Tool. Okay, once you've got it wound around there sufficiently, so at least one complete roll, I just run a little bead of glue across there just to keep that stable. Then we just roll. Try and keep it central, and it's probably easier if you do it on a flat surface. You can see better what's happening. And roll it up. Now in a minute I'll show you what I mean. Now once I get to about that stage, I then cover that whole thing with glue right out to the point. And then pick it up and roll it around, smoothing that glue as I go. Okay, then we can take that off there. Now you can see the size of the hole in there, and you can see how it gets fatter as it comes out and then goes back in skinnier. So we've got a nice shape to the bead. If you don't like the white edges, you can ink this before you wind it up, but I don't mind it. It just adds a little bit of, you know, variation to the colour. And you can see what I mean now. That bead is about 1/2 inch because that's the width that I started with, and it comes out to a nice point. The thicker or the longer your strip of paper, the thicker this bulge is going to be. If you only want a short one, let's do one of these shorter ones. So what colour do I want? I'll do the blue on the outside. Start by rolling our first complete roll. Make sure we've got it nice and firm. We want everything tucked under and we want it fitting firmly around our, whatever it is we're wrapping it around. Now we've got a couple of rolls there, so I'm going to put a row of glue. Now, I don't know whether other people that make their beads do that or not, but for me it just gives me a bit of a sense of security. And then we can just roll it. Trying to make sure that we're keeping it as even as we can. And once we get to about there, cover the whole thing with glue and finish rolling, pushing that glue as we go. And there you can see, I suppose you can see, that you don't get quite as fat a bead because we haven't got as much paper wrapped around, and we've got a longer bead. This one's an inch or whatever it was that it started as. So you can see if maybe, can you see the difference in the thickness there? The longer they are, the fatter they are. Now I've got one here that, this one here is 12 inches long. So let's do this one. And how wide is it? Looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to end up with 3/4 of an inch bead. And we've got that started. So roll it up. You can also make these without the point if you want to, and you'll end up with a flat edged bead. It will just be a thick bead. It won't have the concave or the bulge in it that these have. It will just be straight edged. It won't have that line detail going up it. Whoopsie. So let's put some glue on this one. I hope you can see what I'm doing okay. So how is everybody? I hope everybody is good. Easter's over now and getting back to normal with everything, although here in Adelaide we've got gather round at the football this weekend. So there's a lot of people around. Okay, so there's our little bead that we did with an 8-inch. So that's a 6-inch, that's a 12-inch, and that's an 8-inch strip of paper, or 8.5 maybe. So you can see how different they are width-wise, or thickness-wise. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can go ahead and make millions of these, and as I said, you can just use a straight strip. I'll do one with a straight strip. Let's have a look what I've got. Here we go. I've got a piece of coffee dyed paper here that I will cut off. And so let's do one with a straight edge so that you can see what that looks like. The technique is the same, so we're going to roll it round our little device, whatever we're using, and glue that first bit into place, and then roll this up, trying to keep it nice and straight. I think with the level, like the straight edge one, it's probably a bit more important to keep your thing rolling straight, so that you end up with a straight end on your bead. I haven't got that perfect, but you can see it's going a bit crooked. Okay, so this last piece we're going to glue. So they're more like a barrel bead, I guess you'd say, and yeah, so they look like that. Now, some people make these wide enough that you can put an eyelet in each end and you end up with a metal end on your bead. I don't very often make these type. I tend to prefer this shape, so that's what I do. Now, I'm going to show you now something else that you can do. So on here you can see the finish of that. It's paper, it's flat. Now, I had some left over, and I covered them with Glossy Accents, and I ended up with that. So I've got a glossy bead. So we've got the plain bead and the glossy bead. So I'm going to show you how I did that. It's pretty straightforward. There's two ways. One lot I just put the Glossy Accents on straight out the bottle. But then I found that it was too thick and it was running off. So I put some on a tile, and then I got a brush and painted it on. So just painted it on like so. Now, if you're going to do this, you're going to need, firstly, you'll need to wash your brush out straight away, because Glossy Accents is a glue and will ruin your brush. And you will need something like this to put your beads on to dry. So all I've done there is stick some toothpicks in a piece of foam. The foam came in something I bought, box packing. Okay, so that is all painted now. Put it on there. If you try and put it on an angle, which it doesn't want to do. Anyway, you can sit there like that. So that gives your beads a nice glossy finish. So they're pretty simple to make, and as I said, you can make them out of any paper. You could use cardboard, I suppose, or cardstock, if you wanted a thick bead. The thicker the cardstock, the thicker the bead. Yeah, but I think, you know, they're good to make because they're easy, they're quick, and it's very satisfying, and they will match in perfectly with your project, because if you're using the same paper, which I am, you'll have matching beads. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go on and make those other beads up, and I'll put a photo at the end of the video showing you all the beads I've made. But anyway, that's the process. You can go ahead and try them for yourself. They're not hard at all. The hardest bit, I think, is probably making them stay straight on whatever it is you're wrapping them around. Okay, alright, well, thanks for joining me, and I hope you've enjoyed my video. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd love it if you would subscribe. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much, and if you have enjoyed the video, a thumbs up would be fantastic. Okay, see you next time. Bye.